Welcome to another week of Miiverse drawings. I do want to start off and apologize that this got up a week later than I had anticipated. The past couple weeks I've been working on a project for someone else. I've been creating some art assets for it, so that's been kind of time consuming. Still not done with it. Actually, I've got a lot of work to go with that, but I'm also planning a couple trips to States later in the year, so that's kind of taken up some time. The past couple days I've not felt well either, but today included, but I figured today I had to get it done because by the time I got to it next week, it would be, a month since my last one, thereabouts. So I didn't think that was really appropriate. Still got some topics to cover that are on my list anyway. So I'm going to continue with those, but again, if anyone has anything to offer in terms of subject matter, let me know. But let's go ahead and roll into our topic for this week, which is shading. So there's three different categories I'm going to chop this into for this particular subject matter. There is what I call random, there is what I call line shading, and also what I call movement shading. Now, I'm sure I turned these on in the wrong order. Anyway, I guess we'll find out in a minute when I piece this together. So let's go ahead and roll into line shading. You can do it several different ways in terms of lines. These may not be all of them. I'm just covering some quick ones that I could think of off the top of my head, and that would be vertical, horizontal, and hatching. And with hatching, there's a sub category called cross hatching. Okay, so here we've got all of them, and with some space, I'm going to show a quick example. I'm not going to draw them. I've already got them pre-drawn, but the idea is still there. Okay, so with vertical, it goes kind of back to the video with grayscale. It's vertical lines. I mean, it doesn't get more simple than that. Obviously, the work area here is the same 320 by... It's the same... I'm sorry, it's just been one of those days and I'm not feeling well. It's the same size as it's always been when I do this, as if I were drawing on the gamepad. So anyway, the vertical here, just vertical lines. Horizontal is just like it sounds. Hatching, I'm referring to it for like horizontal lines. This is my horrible quick drawing of it. The idea is the same. You draw basically the hatching, and then at a different angle, draw the opposite lines, and you'll get cross-hatching. Basically, they just cross each other. The cross-hatching was done really quick, so don't take it for its ugly worth, but you get the idea. The closer the lines, obviously, the darker it will be. The further away they are, the lighter that the shading will be. You can also mix and match some of these depending on what you're going for. There are times where you'll see someone's drawing have maybe cross-hatching in a dark corner to kind of give it, a specific look. And then maybe it'll work its way out to just hatching or vertical or something. Different ways to mix and match depending on the look that you're going for. And not only that, but maybe just the piece that you're working on. Okay, so with this particular one, I can only think of one time that I've actually used any of these, and I really had to look through my my catalog of what I've drawn so far. I normally use this kind of stuff when I'm sketching rather than line drawing or whatever. So, now, forgive me, it's just the one example, but let me pull it up here. Okay, so this is the one that I can think of that fits the criteria for what we're talking about. The thing I used here was the horizontal lines, obviously, for Knuckles' glove. I also kind of used for the shading something else I'm going to be talking about later, but I want to use this particular one for the horizontal lines. This was just more of an experimental piece than anything else. What is random? Well, let me bring up the one example that I can think of that I have for this and try to explain the best I can. Okay, so this is my Sonic. Shading on Sonic, I kind of did a outline drawing of where the shading would go. But what I kind of did was just scribble within. The random shading is what I do just for being different. It also kind of looks like it gives it a texture. Not that I was going for that on this specific piece, but I kind of like the look. It was a little rough. Of course, I left Sonic a little rough, and that was fine. I wasn't trying to go for anything more with him. But just random, just doodling within, just randomly going back and forth, and filling in the shaded areas to try to get some kind of shading going on. But because I kind of did it randomly without, purposely filling in the whole thing or doing lines or whatever, it kind of gave it a different look than I suppose it normally would. I think this particular shading technique would be really good if you're going for some kind of texture. The last one would be movement. And this is, I think, my favorite one that I've come across while I've been experimenting on Miiverse and all. What do I mean by that? Well, I have some examples that I'm going to show you with this, and I hope to convey what I mean. It's more methodical than just random, where you just randomly scribbling within. So let's take a look. So the first one that comes to mind that I've done would be Star Wars one here. This particular style of shading in this one felt a bit tricky to kind of try to get the right feel with it, but it ended up working out. Now the only part I really used it on was the space part. Well, I take that back, because Chewbacca I did do some movement type stuff. So let me explain what I mean by movement. Movement for me is shading going in a particular direction that gives it movement. So like with Chewbacca's hair, now this would be the front of his head, and this would be the back and all. So like for his hair, I was drawing like as if his hair was there. But with like space was just the same thing. Was like they were going into hyperspace or whatever. So I was moving the stylus in the direction away from the area that they were headed in. So to kind of give it direction, but a feel of movement. This was an experimental piece. I didn't like the way the moon turned out, but like I said, this was an experimental piece. And to kind of give it some clouds and movement type stuff, what I did was I drew with the white thing in circles. Well, I should say not complete circles, but like half circles to kind of give the feeling of movement. Now, with movement, I'm not sure that you would necessarily find it useful on characters themselves, but you could find, like you'll see with mine, the environments, and that the environments can have some of this movement shading in it to make them pop, make them feel alive sometimes. Like I tried to do that with this to kind of make it feel like there were clouds and stuff, and to give you a better idea of what was going on and what this was. Now for this, you may recognize it. It's a famous piece. I did the Great Wave off Kanagawa, very famous woodblock print, and I decided to tackle it. And I was like, that looks fun, that looks interesting. So I did. Before I really added the wave caps and stuff and all here, what I did was I did movement. It was left to right. It wasn't straight lines. It was just me taking the stylus and literally going left to right, left to right, left to right. Now, if I had any extra lines I needed to erase, then I would erase them after the fact. The darker you needed it, you do more lines. The lighter you needed it, you do less. Even if you needed it lighter, you could play with that after the fact. Up here is the same. It was left to right, left to right, left to right, left to right. When I went back to the areas that needed to be lighter, what I did was I kind of went up and down the wave to kind of give it a different look, to kind of make it stand out as being a different texture, give it a different feel. Okay, and so this one, yeah, I've shown this picture before. I believe I showed this for pointillism for the tree because I used that with it. But for Mount Fuji itself, I used my movement type shading. And obviously it's not just for shading. Well, I mean, I wanted to give the mountain some definition, but I felt like this particular piece, it really helped define it and set it apart from the tree. Since I had used a specific thing for the tree, I wanted to use something else different to help set the mountain apart. I should note that this is also a woodblock printing. I don't know if it's as popular, but technically this is a spring one because this is cherry blossoms. But since I did this during the winter, I removed the cherry blossoms as if it was, a bleak winter day. But with the mountain itself, I kind of drew some lines to set apart where the mountain cap, snow cap, would begin and stuff. What I did was some rough drawing horizontal lines. Obviously not the straight ones, just me drawing horizontal lines. When I got a nice rough sketch of that, I erased the line that I had drawn to get me there and just kept going. If I felt like I got too much of a defined look here, I would go back in with the white and add a little bit of white. But basically what movement does is it feels like it's got the movement going. Like if you were to keep looking at it, that it's either like the wave is going to keep rolling, or like with the Star Wars that they're going through hyperspace, or even in this case it's not so much about movement. Now the technique, it may be movement, but it's to give it a texture, a definition, to set it apart from other objects in the picture itself. Okay, so that's it for what I've got. You could also use some of these techniques for backgrounds. Maybe you don't want to just an all black or all white background, or just maybe all vertical. So try, you could try cross hatching, or you could even go as far as start cross hatching in one section and slowly work your way out to lighter, to the white. There are different ways that you can go about it. Like anything else that I post up here, it's not about everything being covered. It's to get you thinking and to maybe give ideas. And so with that said, that is the end of this particular Miiverse drawing. I hope that you liked it, and I hope that it provided maybe some ideas for you to freshen things up or something. Like my thing says here, if you have any comments, questions, you want to see something be done, if I don't know the technique or whatever, I'll look it up and see what I can do. I'm always for trying new things, so definitely drop me a line if you think you've got something. In the meantime, I wanted to thank you for watching, especially since it's been a while, and I know this is a week behind. I probably won't get one up next week, but the week after. What I'm going to try to do is use this as my starting date and to try to get back on schedule, barring nothing crazy happens. So, thank you again for watching, and I hope you guys have a great week.